Stop for just a moment, my child. Before you do the math one more time, before you move the same small numbers around the page again, hoping that this time they will somehow come out differently, before you pick the whole crushing weight of it back up and carry it into another sleepless night, stop. Come and sit with me here, in this quiet, just for a little while. There are no bills on this table. There is no one here keeping account against you. It is only you and me now. And I have something I have been waiting to say to you. You did not come to these words by accident. I know it feels like you are only trying to quiet the noise in your chest for a few minutes. But I drew you here. Something in you, worn thin with worry, has been crying out for a voice that would not flinch at the truth of where you are, that would not hand you a slogan and move on, that would sit down with you in the middle of the very real fear you are carrying. So stay. Do not get up just yet. Let me speak to the place in you that is most afraid tonight. I know what you are carrying, my child. I know the weight of it, down to the last figure. I have seen the pile of envelopes, the ones you have stopped opening because you already know what is inside. And opening them only makes the dread more real. I have watched that small stack on the counter become a monument to everything you feel you have failed at. A quiet accusation you walk past a dozen times a day. I have seen the way your stomach tightens when the phone lights up with a number you do not recognize. The way you let it ring. The way a call has become something to fear instead of something to welcome. The constant, low hum of money you owe has become the background noise of your whole life. And there is rarely an hour that passes without the weight of it pressing somewhere on your mind. I have been with you at the table late at night, too, when the house has gone quiet and you finally let yourself look at the whole of it. I have watched you add it up and subtract and move one payment to cover another, robbing this to pay that, doing the same desperate arithmetic over and over, as though the 10th time through, the numbers might finally relent. They do not. The amount coming in is smaller than the amount going out, and no matter how carefully you arrange it, the gap does not close. And you sit there in the lamplight, feeling the floor of your security give way beneath you, because you cannot see how a person climbs out of a hole that only seems to get deeper. And I know the shame, my child. That is the part you have shown to no one. You smile, and you say you are doing fine, and you decline the dinner, the trip, the small, ordinary pleasures, and you make an excuse that is not the real reason. Because the real reason is one you cannot bear to speak aloud. You have hidden the truth of your situation even from the people closest to you. Because owing money you cannot repay feels like a verdict on your very worth. A confession that you have failed at something everyone else seems to manage. And so you carry it alone, in secret. And the shame builds a wall around you. And the very thing that most needs the help and comfort of others becomes the thing you hide most carefully. I have seen you grow lonely inside your own struggle. I have watched the shame isolate you, just when you most needed not to be alone. And I have seen what the money fear has done to the home itself, the way it seeps into the love between people, the tense conversations that turn sharp because the worry has worn everyone thin, the way you snap at the ones you love most, not because of them, but because the pressure has nowhere else to go. The guilt afterward. The sense that the debt is not only crushing you, but poisoning the very relationships you would give anything to protect. If you are carrying this alongside someone, a husband, a wife, I have seen the strain it has laid on that bond, the silence that has grown where there used to be ease. And if you are carrying it alone, I have seen that loneliness too. Either way, the weight of it reaches far beyond the numbers, into the most tender places of your life. And I have not missed a moment of it. And I have seen you grieve the future, the retirement that now feels impossible, the dreams you have quietly let go of, one by one, because there is no room for dreaming when every spare thought is spent on survival. The sense that the debt has not only taken your present peace, but reached forward and stolen your tomorrow, that you will be running this race until the very end with nothing ever to show for it. That is a real grief, my child. The grief of a future you can no longer picture. And I will not pretend it away. But I will tell you that your tomorrow is not held in a bank. It is held in my hands, and my hands are not empty. And I have seen the trapped feeling, the one that frightens you most, the sense that you are running as hard as you can and never gaining a single step, that the interest grows faster than you can pay it down, that the harder you work, the more the ground seems to swallow you, that you are not climbing out, but being slowly buried alive. You used to believe that if you just worked hard enough, were careful enough, prayed hard enough, the way out would open. And lately, you have begun to fear that there is no way out at all, that this is simply your life now, a treadmill of debt with no end you can see. I have seen the small, daily indignities of it too, the ones that wear on a soul more than any single crisis. The grocery aisle, where you put things back, doing sums in your head, choosing between what you need and what you can afford this week. The thermostat you will not turn up, sitting in the cold to save a few coins. The prescription you stretch or skip, because the medicine and the bill cannot both be paid. The way you have learned to flinch at ordinary things other people never think twice about. A school expense for the children, a car that needs repair, a tooth that aches. Because for you, there is no cushion, no margin, nothing held in reserve. And every small surprise becomes a fresh emergency. That kind of constant, grinding pressure, where there is never quite enough and never any rest from the arithmetic of survival, is its own particular weariness. And I have watched it settle into your bones. And I have seen the dread that comes with the sound of the letterbox, the envelope with the stern lettering, the second notice, the final notice, the words that threaten and demand. I have watched you let the phone ring through, heart pounding, because you cannot bear another voice asking for money you do not have. No one should have to live braced against their own mailbox, afraid of their own telephone. I see how it has put you constantly on guard, how it has stolen the simple peace of an ordinary day. None of it has been hidden from me. And underneath all of it, in the place you have admitted to no one, there is a question that haunts you. Have I done something wrong? Is this my fault? My failure? My punishment? I have prayed for relief, for a breakthrough, for a way out, for so long now. and it has not come. Where are you, God? Did you hear me? Have you forgotten me? Am I not praying the right way? Believing the right way? Doing the right thing to unlock your help? I have heard those questions, my child, every one of them, whispered in the dark. And before I say anything else, I need to gently take a lie out of your hands, because someone has put it there, and it has been crushing you. You have been told, perhaps by voices that sounded very confident and very spiritual, that if your faith were only strong enough, you could unlock a financial miracle, that the breakthrough is always just one more prayer away, that your deliverance from debt begins the moment you believe hard enough to claim it. And so when the money has not come, you have concluded that the failure must be yours, that your faith fell short, that you did not believe well enough to move my hand. Hear me, my child, because this matters more than almost anything I will say tonight. That is not my gospel. I never promised my children that faith is a formula that fills a bank account. I never told you that enough belief would make you rich, or that your debt is proof of some deficiency in your trust. Those who sell you a guaranteed windfall in my name are selling something I never offered. What I promised is something far better and far more solid than a windfall. I promised to be with you. I promised to provide what you truly need. And I promised a peace that does not depend on the number ever changing. Let me show you what I actually said, so the truth can begin to loosen the grip of the lie. I said, through my servant Paul, be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Hear what I am offering you in those words, my child. I am not telling you to pretend you are not afraid. I am telling you to take the fear, the real and specific fear, the actual bills with their actual numbers, and bring them to me. Be careful for nothing, I said, which means carry the anxious weight of nothing alone. Instead, in everything, in every single thing, including the rent and the card and the loan and the figure that keeps you awake, let your requests be made known to me. Lay the whole of it out before me by name, and then notice what I promised would come. Not necessarily an immediate check in the mail. I promised peace, a peace that passes understanding, which means a peace that does not make sense given your circumstances, a peace that arrives before the problem is solved, a peace that stands guard over your heart and your mind even while the numbers are still wrong. That is the first gift I want to give you tonight. Not a solution you must wait for, but a peace you can have right now, in the middle of the unsolved thing. Do not misunderstand that peace, my child. It is not denial. It is not pretending the debt is not real, or that the fear is foolish. The peace I give does not erase the problem. It stands guard over you while the problem is still there. The way a strong sentry stands watch over a city whose walls are not yet rebuilt. I am not asking you to feel calm by force of will, or to manufacture a serenity you do not have. I am offering you a peace that comes from somewhere outside yourself, that I place into a heart that has every earthly reason to be anxious. precisely because it does not depend on your circumstances being fixed first. The world's peace waits for the bank balance to be healthy. My peace comes to you in the overdraft, in the arrears, in the long night before anything has changed. And it holds your mind together when by every natural measure it should be coming apart. That is the peace I am holding out to you tonight. You have only to bring me the fear, honestly, and receive it. And if you fear that I do not understand what it is to have nothing, to face the empty cupboard and not know how the need will be met, let me tell you about a woman I sustained through a famine, who was as close to the end of her resources as a person can be. In the days of the prophet Elijah, there was a great famine, and I sent my prophet to a widow in a town called Zarephath. When he found her, she was gathering a few sticks to build a small fire, and he asked her for something to eat. And listen to what she answered him, because it is the voice of someone at the very bottom. She said, "I have not a cake, but an handful of meal in a barrel, and a little oil in a cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die." Do you hear where she was? She had 1 handful of flour left and a few drops of oil, and her plan was to make one final small meal for herself and her boy, and then to lie down and starve. She was not a little behind on her bills. She was at the end of everything, with nothing left and no way forward that she could see. Perhaps you know something of how she felt. And here is what I did. I did not rain gold into her lap. I did not make her wealthy. I did not solve her poverty in a single dazzling stroke. I told her, through Elijah, "Fear not." And I made her a quiet, daily promise. "The barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day that the Lord sendeth rain upon the earth." And so it was. My word says that she and the prophet and her household did eat for many days, and the barrel of meal did not run empty, and the little cruse of oil did not run dry. Through the whole long famine, understand what kind of miracle that was, my child, because it is the kind I most often do, and the kind the loud voices rarely promise. It was not a windfall. It was daily bread. Each day there was enough flour for that day, and each day there was enough oil for that day, and never a surplus to hoard, and never a lack to starve. She did not become rich. She became sustained. She learned, one day at a time, through a long and frightening season, that the God who fed her yesterday would feed her again today. That is who I am. I am not, most often, the God of the sudden fortune. I am the God of the barrel that does not quite run empty. The God who meets you at the bottom of the flour jar, morning after morning. The God who gets you through the famine, one faithful day at a time. And I have not changed. I see the bottom of your jar, my child. And I am the same God who would not let her starve. And notice one more thing about her, because it is the very thing I want to grow in you. Every single morning, she had to trust me again. There was never a great store laid up that would let her stop depending on me. There was only ever enough for that day, which meant that each new day she had to come back to the jar and believe again that it would not be empty. I did that on purpose. I was not only feeding her body, I was teaching her heart to trust me one day at a time, to find me faithful this morning, and so to believe me for tomorrow morning. The very thing you have hated most about your situation, that you cannot get ahead, that you cannot build the cushion that would let you stop depending so desperately, may be the place where I am teaching you the deepest lesson of all, which is that I am trustworthy, daily, and that a life lived in daily dependence on me is not a curse, but is, in truth, the safest place a person can stand. If these words are reaching the frightened place in you tonight, my child, do not let them slip away into the noise of the worry. Stay with me a little longer. And if it would steady you to hear my voice like this again, on the next long night when the numbers will not let you sleep, you can follow along, so that you have a place to return to where the fear is not the loudest voice in the room. I am not asking you for anything, and I never will. I am only offering you a quiet corner away from the weight, where someone sits with you and reminds you whose you are. Keep it close. Now let me come to the question that frightens you most underneath all the math. How will my needs actually be met? Where will the provision come from? And to that question I made a promise, through that same servant Paul, who himself knew what it was to go hungry. I said, "But my God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus." Hear the precise shape of that promise. My child, because the loud voices distort it, and the truth of it is sturdier than their distortion. I did not say I would supply all your wants. I did not say I would supply all your greed, or fund every desire, or make you comfortable beyond your need. I said I would supply your need, what you truly require to live and to be sustained. And I did not say I would supply it out of your bank account, which is empty, or out of your own resources, which have run thin. I said I would supply it according to my riches in glory, out of a storehouse that has no bottom, that no famine can touch, and no debt can drain. Your account may be overdrawn. Mine never is. And it is from my inexhaustible riches, not from your exhausted ones, that I have promised to meet what you truly need. And the man who wrote those words knew exactly what he was talking about, because he had lived through want himself. Paul said, "I have learned, in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content." He said, "I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need." This was no comfortable man preaching from abundance about a prosperity he had never lacked. This was a man who had gone hungry, who had suffered real need, and who had found, in the very middle of that lack, a contentment and a strength that did not depend on his circumstances. And he told you its secret. "I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me." Not, "I can become wealthy through Christ." I can endure all things, be content in all things, be carried through all things by the strength he gives. That is the dignity and the peace I am offering you in your lack. The same I gave to Paul, So here is the wisdom I want to put into your hands tonight, my child, because I do not only want to comfort you, I want to give you something to live by when you set this down and face the bills again tomorrow. First, stop letting the number define your worth. You have begun to believe that what you owe is who you are, that your value has shrunk to the size of your debt, that you are a failure measured in figures on a page. That is a lie, and I will not let it stand. I formed you, and I treasured you long before you ever owed a single coin. And I will treasure you just the same when the debt is gone. Your worth was never financial. The love of money and the shame of the lack of it are two sides of the same trap, and I am calling you out of both. My word says, let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Do you hear what I anchored your contentment to? Not to a sum in the bank, but to my presence. I will never leave thee. Your security was never meant to rest on a balance that can rise and fall. It was meant to rest on me, who does not rise and fall, who is with you, whether the account is full or empty, so that, my word says, we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper, and I will not fear. Think of what it means to have a security that cannot be repossessed. Everything money buys can be taken away. The house can be lost. The savings can vanish. The comfort can crumble in a single hard season, as you have learned. A security built on a balance is a security that can always be lost, which is why those who trust in riches are never truly at rest, no matter how much they have. But the security I am offering you cannot be foreclosed on. No lender can come for it. No market can crash it. It is the simple, immovable fact that I am with you, that I am your helper, that I have promised never to leave you nor forsake you, in plenty and in want alike. The poorest person who rests in that is richer, in the only wealth that lasts, than the wealthiest person who does not. I am inviting you, in the very middle of your lack, into a security the comfortable often never find, because they never had to learn where the real foundation lies. Second, break the silence and let others in. The shame has told you to hide, to carry this alone, to let no one see the real numbers. But I did not design you to bear a crushing weight in secret. I built my people to be a body that carries one another's burdens. And I very often send my provision not as money falling from the sky, but through the hands of other people. A neighbor, a friend, a church, a wise and trusted counselor. When you hide the need, you also hide from the help I am trying to send through others. Let one safe person see the truth. Reach out for honest, practical guidance. Allow my people to be part of how I provide for you. Accepting help is not weakness, and it is not failure. It is one of the chief ways I have always cared for my children, through one another. Third, take the next honest step, and do not try to climb the whole mountain tonight. You are staring at the entire sum, the full distance between this hole and freedom, and the size of it is paralyzing you. But I did not give the widow a year's worth of flour at once. I gave her enough for the day. I am asking you to do the same, not to solve the whole of it tonight, but to take the next small, faithful, honest step, and then to leave tomorrow's portion to tomorrow, where I will meet you in it. One bill, one honest conversation, one small act of faithful stewardship of what little is in your hand. That is enough for today. The mountain is crossed one day's walk at a time. And learn to see the small provisions I am already giving you, even now, in the middle of the lack. The fear has trained your eyes to see only what is missing, the gap, the shortfall, the unpaid figure, until the one thing you do not have fills your whole vision and blots out everything you do. But look again, my child. There was food on the table today, however simple. There was a roof over you tonight. There were small mercies scattered through your day that you walked past without noticing, because your gaze was fixed so hard on the debt. I am not asking you to be grateful for the hardship, or to pretend the lack does not hurt. I am asking you to lift your eyes long enough to notice the daily bread I am in fact providing. Because a heart that can see the mercies it has been given waits in far more peace than a heart that can see only the thing it lacks. Gratitude will not pay your bills, but it will guard your soul from the bitterness and the despair that the debt would love to grow in you. And keep your heart open and generous, even now, even in your lack. I do not mean give money you do not have. I would never ask that. And beware anyone who tells you that giving what you cannot afford will force my hand to make you rich. For that is the old lie, wearing a religious mask. I mean something quieter and freer than that. The fear of debt tempts a heart to clench shut, to grasp, to grow anxious and small and consumed with self-preservation. Resist that closing. You still have a kind word to give, a moment of help for a neighbor, a smile, a prayer, a small kindness that costs no money at all. A heart that stays generous even in want is a heart that money has not managed to enslave. And that freedom is worth more than anything in your account. Do not let the lack turn you grasping. Stay open-handed in spirit, and you will find that the debt, even unpaid, has not been able to own you. And do not let the lie of the guaranteed miracle keep you waiting passively for a windfall that I never promised. While the real provision I am offering, through wise steps and through my people and through daily bread, goes unreceived because you were holding out for the lump sum. Seek me, not the windfall. Seek my presence, my peace, my daily provision, my wisdom, and trust me to meet your true need in my own way, which is almost always quieter and steadier and more faithful than the dazzling rescue the loud voices sell. There is one more thing I would have you hear, the deepest comfort of all, and I have saved it for last. You have been afraid that your debt has somehow disqualified you, that you have fallen out of my favor, that the lack itself is a sign I have turned away. So hear this, all the way down. There is one debt that ever truly mattered, a debt none of you could pay, the debt of your own sin and brokenness. And I paid it myself, in full, at the cross, and nailed the certificate of it there, canceled forever. If I was willing to pay the one debt that was beyond all paying to make you my own, do you imagine I have now abandoned you over a debt of money? You are not in arrears with me, my child. The account that determines whether you are loved, whether you belong, whether you are mine. That account was settled long ago, in your favor, by my own hand, and nothing you owe to anyone on earth can reopen it. You may owe the bank, you may owe the lender, but you do not owe me a thing to earn my love, and you never will, because it was already bought for you at a price you will spend eternity discovering. And let that settle the deepest fear of all, the one that the long struggle has quietly planted, the fear that your worth rises and falls with your solvency, that to be in debt is to be diminished, lessened, worth less as a person. It is not so. The richest soul and the poorest soul stand on exactly level ground before me, because I never priced a single one of you by your possessions. I priced you by the cross, and there I declared, for all of heaven and earth to see, that you were worth the very life of my Son. That is your worth, fixed and final, and no creditor's ledger and no empty account can move it by the breadth of a hair. When the world and your own tired heart try to tell you that you are less because you owe, hear me answer over the top of them. You are worth everything to me, and that was settled long before this debt began, and it will stand long after it is gone. If these words have found the frightened place in you tonight, my child, do not carry it in silence the way you have carried everything else. When this is done, leave one honest word below, and tell me, and tell the others walking this same hard road, that you are here, not to beg and not to compare, but so that all of us who know this particular fear can hold one another up in prayer, and so that the shame, which does its worst work in secret, loses its grip the moment it is spoken among people who understand. I gather every one of those words. Not one of them goes unheard. So lift your head, my beloved. I know how heavy the weight has been. I know how long you have carried it, and how tired you are, and how afraid. And I am not asking you to feel strong tonight, or to have the answer, or to see the way out. I am only asking you to set the whole crushing sum down, just for tonight, into hands that are never empty. You are not your debt. Your worth was settled by your Maker, not by your balance. You are not forgotten. I keep the barrel from running empty and meet you at the bottom of the jar. You are not alone in it. I send my provision through my people, so let them in. And you are not disqualified from my love. The only debt that ever truly counted, I paid myself, and it is gone. Rest now. Put the math down. Put the envelopes down. Put the shame down. Put the whole crushing weight of what you owe down, just for tonight. And let it be enough that you are seen and held and provided for in the deepest way of all, and deeply, unshakably loved by the one whose riches have no end. You do not have to solve it tonight. You do not have to find the money, or see the way through, or carry the fear one more inch by your own strength. You only have to let yourself be cared for these few hours, by the one who has been caring for you all along, even on the nights you felt most alone with the numbers. Lay it all at my feet. I am strong enough to carry the weight you cannot, and faithful enough to meet the need you cannot meet. The peace that the world cannot give and the world cannot take, I give to you tonight, the peace that passes understanding, the peace that does not wait for the balance to change. Rest gently. Trust me one day at a time, and know, all the way down in the deepest part of you, that the one who made you is also the one who provides for you, and that I do not abandon the work of my own hands, and that I have never yet let one of my own go without the daily bread they truly needed. When you wake tomorrow, and the weight tries to settle back onto your chest before your feet even touch the floor, remember what I told you tonight. You are not your debt. You are mine. You will not be abandoned. I meet you at the bottom of the jar. You do not have to carry it alone. Let my people help. And the one debt that mattered is already paid. You stand before me, free and beloved. Lift your eyes, my beloved. The debt does not get the last word. I do. And the word I speak over you tonight is not failure, and not forgotten, and not trapped, and not alone. The word I speak over you is provided for. You are provided for, and you are mine. Rest in that, my child. I am with you. I am with you. I am with you.